Hi, Ash here. So this has been a long time coming, but finally here we are, my video about WorldSpace. And I've got two WorldSpace receivers. I've got this Sanyo one here, which we'll do an unboxing of in a second. But 2001, August 2001, I got this Hitachi radio. And when you look at it, it looks like a normal transistor radio. Obviously, you know, it's got an LCD screen here, it's got some presets, blah, 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 but it's not, you know, it's a pretty average radio, you know. It's got a aerial, so does FM, medium wave, it's got a couple of shortwave bands on there. But if you turn it round, that's when things get a little bit different. And you see here, it has an integrated satellite dish. And if I angle it up like that, and that is pretty cool. And it also detaches, but this meant that you were able to receive satellite radio basically on the WorldSpace system. So anyway, I'm just going to give you a quick tour of WorldSpace. So if we look at my Hitachi radio in a bit more detail here, I've just plugged it into the mains. It does run on 4 D-cell batteries as well, so it is truly portable. WorldSpace also made a car adapter for it as well, believe it or not. So you detach the antenna, this little release button here, slides out. I mean, you could use it connected to the radio, but with this stand here, basically if you wanted to have the radio, I guess most people would want the radio facing towards them and the antenna facing out of the window because, you know, the signal was good enough to use through a window. It didn't really require much specialist setting up. You to just point the antenna in a southeast facing direction and it would pretty much lock on straight away. The radio here has a volume slider. We've got a line out and a headphone jack. The antenna, the satellite antenna, that just pulls out. I mean, it might be a bit stiff after these years. There we go. I managed to do it without breaking. But what you'll see here is that we have an F-type connector. WorldSpace sold 3-element Yagi antennas. So you could have like a loft installation, and that is what I did actually have back at the time. I was a teenager when I had this radio, and my parents very kindly let me put a WorldSpace 3-element Yagi on the side of our house, which was good of them, as I had a north-facing bedroom. So you can see there, you'd obviously just screw in to the connection there. You've got a data expansion socket there as well, but like I say, you know, the radio works with either there. And then what we've got here, you know, again, if you know, a transistor radio, you're kind of like a very familiar interface here. When we're listening on analog, we have a slider there for FM, medium wave, and the 2 shortwave bands. Mono speaker, but obviously, like I say, you've got a line out, I beg your pardon, and a headphone jack. And then what you would do here is to turn it on. So obviously here I've just you can still use it for FM. You can go up and down using these buttons here. So yeah, it's still totally usable in 2024, even though the satellite's long gone. And if you wanted to go into WorldSpace mode, you just push this WS button here. Obviously it's not going to find anything because the satellite has long gone. But what you would get is the station name would appear here. You scroll up and down using the up and down buttons. You can search for stations by a particular YAT language because obviously it was multilingual. Program type. This radio doesn't have RDS. However, it has a similar kind of RDS type experience when it was operating on WorldSpace. Obviously, this would be your signal strength here. So if there's no signal, you always get that indication there, but it would go up, I think, 3 or 4 steps to show you, you know, what was available there. The number pad, WorldSpace did have subscription channels, and if you were a WorldSpace subscriber, you would basically enter your license key, and the radio would store it like that. So we've got a memory there as well for storing presets. So it was really a dead simple radio to use. Like, of all of the tech from the 21st century, it doesn't get much more straightforward than this. There's no need to, not like digital radio where you have to auto-tune or anything like that. It would just load up, a bit like using Sky, I suppose, and the channels were just there. So this particular receiver I never actually owned at the time WorldSpace was going. This is just something I bought off of eBay. And unfortunately, this radio only does WorldSpace. There's no FM, AM or anything else on this radio. So it is pretty much a doorstop. But let's open the box up anyway and see what's inside. I mean, it's lovingly packaged, that's for sure. Right, so what we've got here, big manual here. Oh, and all the different languages. Oh, I should show you as well, I have the manual for the Hitachi radio there, so I don't have the box, but I have the manual there, and again, it's all, shows you everything in all the different languages there, because obviously this was a, you know, meant as an international service, right? Some sort of carrying strap. Right, I'll get to the receiver in a second. What have we got here? Oh, of course, so this is the dish. This, unlike the Hitachi dish, is plastic. This has got a lot of weight to it. I mean, this is like a metal base, almost feels magnetic, and you can see as well, unlike the Hitachi unit, this comes with a very long cable. Look at that. I don't want to hypnotise you there, but it's been wound quite a few times there. You've got your Bellingly, I don't know if that is a Bellingly, but it's kind of like the Bellingly style of plug there. The actual dish can be just raised and lowered just by pulling it up at the back. And this thing's got a real weight to it. I feel like, I don't know if I'd want to, but I feel like you could put this out in the garden. I mean, you could still work through a window, but I feel like you could put this in a garden and it probably wouldn't go anywhere. It's got a lot of weight to it. Right, let's see what else we've got inside. Yep, so here we go. So I don't have a power supply here. No, none included. And does this use batteries? Oh yeah, there is a socket there for, what's that there? So you can put double A's or D's in there. That's interesting. But yeah, this is the receiver there. So it's a bit more utilitarian than the Hitachi unit, but you can see on the box there, it looks like it comes with a remote control, but I don't have a remote control in the box. But you've got, you know, similar kind of searching, ordering buttons. You've got a headphone jack there, on off power, volume. And then at the side, what have we got here? So we've got the data port, digital optical output, that's good. Oh, I see, this strap you could wrap around this loop here. That's where you connect the power to. Release. That's intriguing. I wonder what happens if I do that. Oh, okay. All right, I see. I'm assuming that you must be able to connect the... That's probably a little cover that we could connect the dish to. I'm just going to try that out. So here we are with the dish attached to the receiver. There's a little channel for the cable to go through there. That's quite nice. Oh, antenna rotor open. I wonder if that pops it open. What do you reckon? 3, 2, 1? No. Oh, hang on. It's doing something. I see, I can pull that up. Oh, I see. So I can't actually. I can. I think it's probably just because it's old. I push that button. Yeah, it's easier if I push the button in. Okay. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't think this is going to win any prizes for beauty, this receiver, but yeah, hey, at least you had the choice. Then finally, if I go around to the side of the receiver, we've got our F-type, get the focus right, got our F-type socket there, which I can plug the antenna into like that. Your left and right phono sockets there, and then obviously you attach the strap to that point there as well. Right, so you know that I love a leaflet, so I do have this WorldSpace leaflet, which I got when I got this radio. I got the radio from Nevada Radio, who I think were an official distributor for WorldSpace, and luckily for me, they were based in Portsmouth, where I grew up, so I literally only had to go about a mile from where I lived to get my radio, and obviously I picked up this brochure at the time. It's kind of like a bit nostalgic going through here because we've got the launch receivers here. There were some other receivers that came on stream later on. The Hitachi radio I was kind of interested in because it was, I think, the cheapest radio. So when WorldSpace launched in the UK, they actually subsidised these radios, I think, for the first 20,000 radios. So the price should have been $149, which I think is impressive for considering what you get. But they actually subsidised the first 20,000 radios, I think, for £99, the Hitachi ones. So that was a real bargain. That was, because I mean, I was still at school when this radio came out. So actually, you know, at £99, I had some money saved up, so I was able to go out and buy one when I learnt about, you know, the WorldSpace's existence, which is pretty cool. And then here you can see kind of clearly in a bit of detail there what the actual beams were. So Ameristar never actually launched, but Asiastar and Afristar did actually launch. And you can see, if I just zoom in really close here, you can see you have the Afristar West beam there, the South beam there. So you can see they have all these different beams, which are basically, I think they were pairs of transponders on, I think there were 6 transponders on each satellite, 2 transponders for each beam that would broadcast the services on there. So if you have a look inside this leaflet, he says, so this will give you a flavour of the services that were available at launch. Now, towards the end, like I say, WorldSpace had a lot of subscription channels, and this definitely changed from what you're going to see here. So, like, towards the end, you could listen to the likes of Virgin, TalkSport, Radio Caroline. None of those were there at the beginning. In fact, there was no subscription services at all at the start. But what you had is the staples, like, you know, the international broadcasters here. You know, where it says Bloomberg, that was literally the audio lifted from the Bloomberg UK TV channel. Where it says BBC, it was like the most appropriate, like localized version of World Service for whatever beam you were on. So, for example, here we'd be listening to, it was like, I think it's BBC World Service West Africa or something like that. You would be able to receive these services here. Were produced in New York at WorldSpace HQ. Ears and letters were discontinued very quickly. I think they had gone by the end of 2001, start of 2002, because they tried to be, you know, like Radio 4 style productions, and clearly I guess that cost a lot of money. And you had some interesting services. Like, I really loved the service, you remember, as a teenager, I really loved the service 24/7 dance music. Like, you know, in the south of England, we never had any cool radio station like Kiss or Galaxy. So if I wanted to listen to dance music, this was pretty much the only way that I could do it on a radio. Obviously here the formats kind of speak for themselves, and if you look here, these were some of the other services. So, you know, on any, if you took your WorldSpace receiver anywhere where there was service, you could get these services in addition to these ones. And then obviously Afristar West, which you could get in the UK there, you had these stations as well. Now, just supposing that you lived in an area where there was overlapping beams or overlapping satellites, the receiver would let you pick those up. So you weren't forced to listen to like one particular, one particular option, if that makes sense. You could, if you were lucky enough to have overlap, that wasn't really a problem. And just flipping the receipt, the booklet over there, so just like any other leaflet there. So anyway, that's my quick video about WorldSpace. I mean, WorldSpace, the trouble with WorldSpace was that I think they were just trying to do too many things to too many places. You know, the needs of a global radio service in the early 2000s. You know, I know WorldSpace's mission was about bringing information to disconnected parts of Africa and Asia. You know, there was education, you know, in particular WorldSpace made a thing about spreading the awareness of HIV and AIDS, that kind of thing, which is all very noble. But the question is, how do you monetize this? So when you think this receiver, all of the things it could do back in 2001 for £150, the fact that initially the service was subscription free, and you know, launching satellites, running satellites, that is not cheap. And it's very easy to see how WorldSpace quickly ran out of cash and went under. Fun fact, when WorldSpace went bankrupt, nothing was done with the satellites for a while. And so if you did have a WorldSpace receiver after WorldSpace went under, you could still listen to BBC World Service. So someone somewhere kept the uplink going. The satellite was still faithfully beaming it back down to Earth. So there was one channel. But if you have one of these radios today, there's absolutely nothing that you can pick up from the satellite, which is a bit of a shame. And also the L-band technology, the MP3 codec that was used for this, the Starman codec, the technology was all proprietary to WorldSpace. So as far as I know, you can't really repurpose these for any other satellite broadcast, but at least this good old Hitachi, it still does FM. And for me, it's one of only 2 radios I own that still does AM. So not that there's much left on AM, but I've got something to listen to. Anyway, I hope this video was interesting. If you've got any questions, ask them in the comments, and I'll try and get back to you. But yeah, that's the story of, brief story of WorldSpace and my overview of my 2 receivers.